Hello, what's up guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Emmanuel. In today's video we'll be creating our own directory tree generator with Python, even though there are already implemented versions of it that you can use. So what is a directory tree generator? What it does basically is shows the relationship between files and folder in a particular folder. For example, in this folder here I have open test. So if I should try to generate a tree from this, it's going to show me every relationship between all the files and folders in this directory. So for example, I'm going to copy the directory, okay, the path to the directory, the folder, and I'm going to paste it here. So we see what it does. Then when we run it, you see we have the test. Now we have a folder here called FM. If you check it, this is here. Inside this FM we have these files in here, okay. As you can see, I'm going to press back, and then we have these other files. So one thing you can also use directory tree generators to do is, let's say you have an error and you need to post what you have in your directory on somewhere like Stack Overflow, so it can help you solve your problems. You can just easily use a directory tree generator to generate it and just copy it and paste it in there, so it too can help you. Anyway, without wasting time, before we take a step into the tutorial, make sure you smash the like button, click the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. Now let's get into the video. Okay, so I have a file already. Now when you're solving problems like this, you want to make sure these problems are broken down into simpler units, so you don't get bogged down by the complexity, or which might be the reason why some people don't want to go into building things like this. Okay, so we're going to make this simple, and then we're just going to bring in the simple components together. Now the first thing we're going to do is, of course, we need some constants. Now if you come here and check this pipe here and the hebo, so I'm just going to paste it here so you can see it. Okay, now you see this is not actually the pipe on your keyboard and a dash. If you put dash here, you see the difference. Okay, so we have that. I'm gonna put a link in the description below to my GitHub profile where we will have the whole code, so you can just copy it from there. So once you click on it, it should take you to the repository where we have the intermediate project, and then in that repository just click on directory tree generator, then you can copy this. Okay, so of course the first thing we want to do is we're gonna get input from the user. We're gonna call it directory, and we're gonna say input enter directory to generate tree from. Okay, that's gonna be a directory we're gonna be generating tree from. Now we're gonna do a try except try. Okay, so we're just gonna use this one. In here we're gonna create something called root directory. Okay, root directory. Now we can't use this directory straightforward, it's a string. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make use of a built-in Python library. It's gonna make things easier for us. We're gonna do import pathlib. What this pathlib is gonna do is we're gonna convert this string to a path, okay, an actual path. Then we can just check if you can check for the files in the path, check if it's a file, if there are folders and stuff like that, which you're gonna see in a minute. Now we're gonna say pathlib.path, and so capital letter P, and then pass in the directory. Okay, so this is going to convert that to a pathlib object. Now after that, we're going to say tree equals to, we're going to call a function called make sure. We define it later, and then we're going to pass through directory to it. Then we say for item in tree print item. Okay, so remember, we just convert this to a pathlib object to a path object, and then we call this function. So let me define this function, and then I'll explain what that does to you. So we're gonna do make tree, and it takes in just the root directory. I'm gonna save that. Now what this is whenever we call make tree, it's gonna return a list, and then we're gonna iterate through the list, and then we're gonna print each item. Now what's the result of that? This is the result of that. Okay, for those of you that must have thinking of how we got this, so we just print line by line. Okay, so these are just one item, these are items in the list. Okay, each line is an item in the list. Now in this make tree, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create a list. This is the list we're gonna be returning. Okay, the tree list, and then we're gonna say add roots. We're gonna pass in tree and then the root directory. So what this add root is gonna do is, I'm gonna explain that as well, and then we're gonna say add body tree and root directory. Cool. Now we have this is going to manipulate the tree direction, this is also going to manipulate it, and then that's what we're going to return. Now what the add root does is Add root basically adds this name of the directory and then a pipe. This is what you call pipe, just the straight line, horizontal facing. This or sorry, this vertical line. Yeah, it's called a pipe. And then the add body is gonna generate the rest of this. Okay, that's why I refer to as the body. Now we're gonna define these functions as well. We'll come and then we're gonna do define add root, and then we're gonna pass in tree and then root directory. Before I do that, I'm gonna also define add body. That will be tree and root directory, and we're gonna pass. Okay. Now up here, as you said, as we said earlier, we're gonna be printing out the name of the file. Now how do we get that? Remember, this tree, this root directory is a path object. Okay, from this, that's what we pass in here, and that's what also passed in here, and that's what we're gonna use here. Now to do it, we're gonna say tree dot append f string. We're gonna make use of an f string. Okay, then we're gonna do this. This is gonna be tree. Sorry, it's gonna be root directory dot name. Okay, now this name is gonna return the actual name of the directory. So even if I pass a path like this, just like I did here, this is the path, a full path to the directory, it's just gonna get the name of directories for me. So when I do that, then I'm gonna do os dot separator. So that's gonna just return the separator to me. Okay, now after that, remember I want to add a pipe, so that's gonna be tree dot append pipe. So I'm gonna save that, and we need to import os. Remember this os. Okay, so we're gonna do import os. So these are just inbuilt Python library. We're gonna save that. Now if I run it, we should have these two in the list already. So this should print both out already before we define the add body function. So now let me run that. We're gonna do open continue folder. So if you're using Sublime like I am, you can't run this code in Sublime because of you have an input statement, and input statements cannot work in Sublime. So if you're Mac or Linux, you can open your terminal and navigate to the directory where you have your folder, or just go to the folder, right click, and open in terminal. But if you're on Windows, you can do the same thing, navigate in command prompt on your terminal to where you have your file, or just do as I'm about to do and type cmd here. So this is going to open command prompt in the directory or folder where you have your file. So we're going to reduce the size a little so I can put it by the side here. So if I do python directory tree gen .py, okay, so I'm just gonna, so if I paste that, as you can see, we have the first thing, which is this. Okay, we have that working. Now we're gonna deal with the body. Now in the body, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna check all the items in the directory, including the directories and the files in the present directory we are in presently. So which is the root directory at first. We're gonna say that ita, I'm gonna call it directory ita. You see that in a minute, and then we're gonna say root directory dot ita down. Now you see why we are making use of the path object down here. Okay, remember this is the path object we are passing to this function. This function also passes it to that body, and that's what we are using. So with this we can do a lot. Now this is gonna return an object. Now I'm not just going to make use of the object that way. We're gonna sort in the objects such that we have the folders first and then we have the files, which is how it usually is in the directory tree, just like this. We have the folders first. As you can see, it's a folder, and then the files after. The files follow. Now we're gonna come here, so we're gonna say sorted. Sorry, well, we're gonna call this this is gonna hold the sorted file, so I'm just gonna call it directory items. Okay, because this is what we're going to be actually using, directory items, and then we're gonna say sorted. Now what do we want to sort? We want to sort directory ita. Okay, and then how do we want to sort? We're gonna make use of a key. So as I think I said it earlier on, yeah, I said this is not for absolute beginners. It's only for those who are familiar with Python. So, okay, so you don't get confused at some certain point in time. Okay, so we're gonna continue now. Now, I don't know why we have this. Okay, yeah, sorry, we have to complete this. So we're gonna do lambda, and then we're gonna pass in item. So what do we want to do? We're gonna say item dot is file. Okay, that will be an underscore. Okay, now what we are saying here basically is if it's a file, then we're gonna use that to arrange it. Now let me explain what this actually does. Now we're gonna go through the items here. This is gonna check if the item is a file. If the item is a file, it's gonna return true. And the way this works is false is the same as 0 and true is the same as 1. So when this returns 1, directory will always be false because Of course, it's not going. If it's not a file, then it's going to be false. So directories are always going to be false, and then they're always going to have the value of 1. So they're always going to be the first in the list because of there's the first set of items in the list because they are 0000. Why the files which are going to be true are going to be 111, which will be which will make them the last item. So if I should print directory items, so you can see this directory item, save it and call me down here. We're gonna run that. Okay, as you can see, this is the list. I just printed it here. Okay, this is the list. We have this first, which is the path crook. Okay, so that is not in here. I just added one folder. Okay, this crook folder is an empty folder. Okay, and we have other files. We have this directory, of course, the fm directory, and other files. Now after that, then we're gonna get the len of the item. So we're gonna say len directory items. That's gonna be len of directory items. So we're gonna be using it for some operations. You'll see. Now we're gonna loop through the list. So we're gonna say for I in directory items. Now, how do we get? Let me make use of this. How do we make sure we get these ones, these connectors? Okay, so these ones be just before the files are called connectors. For example, this is a T, this one here, and this is a T, and this is an elbow. Now what we want to do here is we want to set the connectors first. We want to get the connectors that we're going to use our file. So if the item in that present directory is the last item, we want to make sure it ends, the connector is an elbow, and but if it's not the last, it's always be a T. That's what we want. Okay, so these are not last items, they're all T's, while the last one here is an elbow. So that's what we want to get. So we're going to say connector. I'm going to come down here. Connector is equals to, now it's going to be T. Let me make his elbow. It's going to be elbow if item. Now how do we know if the item is the last item in this list? So we're going to actually going to need the index. So we're going to enumerate through this instead. So I'm going to say index and item. Now we're going to enumerate it. I'm going to put this and I'm going to come here. Okay, so this is going to return, when you enumerate, it's going to return the item we always have, and then then it's also going to return the index, but we're going to be having the index first. So the index and the item. Now we're going to say if index is equals to len directory items minus 1. So what we are saying here is if it's the last item in the list, then it's going to be an elbow. Okay, else we want a T, of course not T. Okay, yeah, now we have the connector all set. Now what do you want to do? We're gonna check if this item is a file or a directory, which will make us know what to perform on the item. So we're gonna say if item dot is directory. We can use anyone first. Okay, if item dot is directory. Now we're gonna say tree dot append. So that will be f. We're gonna use an f string. So that's gonna be f. Okay, the first one is gonna be the prefix. Now let me show you what prefix is. This is gonna be a default element here. Okay, let me show you what that is. I'm gonna come here. Now if you look at this closely, we have the connectors here. These are the connectors. We're always gonna have that. So we don't have any problems with connectors already, but how do we make sure we have all this here, these lines? Okay, of course we only have connectors here, but in this case where we enter a new direction, how do we make sure we have this here? So this is the connector. This is the connector in work at work. This is connector at work here. So we want to make, sorry, this is the prefix at work. So pardon me. This is the connector and this is the prefix, but in this case our prefix is always going to be an empty string. Okay, when we are in the root directory. So we have the prefix, the connector here, and then this is the prefix. So when we enter a new folder, we want to make sure our prefix is going to be something else. Now for now our prefix is an empty string, so it doesn't reflect, it doesn't show. It's only going to be our connector that is going to be showing. So we're going to do connector, and then after that we want to put a space there and then the name of the file. So that's going to be item.name. Okay, that's one beautiful thing about the path again, which we are making use of here. So we're going to do item.name and then os.sep. We're going to save that. But before we do that, then we're going to say else. When we do else, then surely it's a file if it's not a directory. So we're gonna say tree dot append. Let me just copy this and paste it as well. I'm gonna copy. I'm gonna paste it. Cool. Now I wonder why can't I just put it in here if this is gonna be what we're gonna be doing. Of course, this is not all. So we're gonna know the reason why we are using a conditional statement here in a wow. Okay, in a minute. So if I run this now and I pass this in, as you can see, we have all of this. This is the folder here, the test. So as you can see, we have the FM, the crook, the folders first, and then we have all the files. Now all we have to do is now is we get how do we deal with folders, so we can get the relationships between the files inside these folders and others, just like we have in this one. Okay, now we're gonna come here. No, let me reduce that, the one that's big. We're gonna come here. Instead of doing this, we're gonna cut this instead, and then we're gonna put a new function. So we're gonna call this generate directory. Okay, then of course we're not passing tree to it, so we're gonna be manipulating that. um, mm, we're gonna pass in our current item to it. What else are we gonna need? We're gonna need the index, so we're gonna be using that index to deal with the prefix. So remember, this is gonna be a directory, so it's gonna probably have this. It's gonna probably have this space here, so we're gonna be making use of the index so we can know what prefix to use. Something similar to this line 19. And we're also gonna need the len of the directory items, of course, for the same reason. And the last thing, we're gonna need prefix and the connector. The prefix and the connector. Okay, so that's more than into 2 lines. So I'm gonna bring this to the next line. That's one at 79 colon down here. So you want to make sure your line dot is not more than 79 colon, which is against PEP. Well, of course, they're not actually limited to that. If it spans across that, it's still gonna work. But you just want to keep that good. Now we're gonna define generate directory anyway. I'm gonna put it up here. So we're gonna say define generate directory. Now you see how we are taking this step by step. We're not just rushing down into just writing everything at once, which is how you're gonna probably be writing your code. You're not just gonna write everything at once. You're gonna take it step by step, which is very important. So we're gonna do this. So down here we take in tree. I'm just gonna copy this. We're gonna use this as the same parameter names. I'm gonna paste this here. So we have the tree, the item, the index, the len, directory, items, prefix, and connector. I'm gonna put this. I'm really pretty sure that was more than 79 characters on the same line. So I'm gonna put a colon here, and here 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna paste what I copied. So if I paste it here, oh no, let me paste this. Now I'm gonna show you why I'm doing that. I'm gonna paste it, save it. Okay, so I mistakenly ran the code over there, which is not what I wanted to do. So I'm gonna save that and paste it here. So what we are doing here is when we get to directory, we're gonna click generate directory so we can check if there are any files in there. Now I'm gonna be using this side by side. Now, for example, if this is the directory, so when we get to the directory here, we go to generate directory. Now, when we enter this function, of course, then it's gonna print this. Now, that will be the prefix. Of course, the prefix is nothing for now since we are still in the root directory. And then we're gonna print the connector, which is this T, then name of the file and os.sep. We don't need os.sep here for a file. Okay, it's a file, so we don't need that. We don't need it here. Okay, the separator is right in front of files. We only need it in front of directories so we can know directories and files difference. So we're gonna come here now. We know why we have this line, so we can always have the name of our directory first, and then down here I want to check for the prefix we're gonna use. Okay, so we can be able to indent this. So you see, it's easy. Just make sure you don't overthink it. It's very easy. So we want to get what prefix we're gonna use here. So we're gonna check if it's the last item or it's not the last. Then we'll choose what prefix to use. Now I'm gonna say if item, okay, so that's gonna be index rather. So if index is not equals to len directory items minus 1. So if it's not the last item, so our prefix is always gonna be, we're gonna add this to our prefix. So that will be plus equals to, of course, it's gonna be the pipe prefix. Okay, pipe prefix, and I'm gonna show you that now. The reason why we have that. So I'm gonna come back up here. Now if you look at this, the pipe prefix, so this is not the last item in the tree. in this folder, so we're gonna add this to the prefix. Now after we print this, it's very important to only do this after we print the name of the folder. Okay, so when we do it, our prefix is gonna be this, and then we're just gonna do this, but we're gonna talk about doing this later, not now. We're gonna see that I don't want to just jump into it, so you not get confused. You're gonna know the reason why when we get into it. Now if it is empty, so what this is doing is, you've seen it, if it's not the last item in the list, you do that. But if it's empty, our prefix is just gonna be plus equals to space prefix. Okay, I'm gonna save that. If I come here, um this one, so if it's the last item, we're just gonna have space prefix, so it's just gonna add space instead, which is just here. Okay, so we can continue. Now we have that all set out. Okay, so after that, how do we do the rest? How do we get the files? This is where some of you might get confused. That's why I wanted us to just do these basic things and understand it. So once you understand this, it's the same thing I'm about to do here. It's just basically the same process. So we're gonna do add body. Okay, for those of you that know it already, you already know this is recursion. Okay, so we're gonna pass in 3 to this, and then we're gonna pass in root directory. This is okay. Yeah, not the root directory. We're gonna be passing in the item, because that's gonna be the root directory in this case. Now look at this. For those of you that don't really know what recursion is, if you want me to talk about, make sure you comment down in the comment section below. I'm gonna do a video where I just simplify what recursion is. Basically, you don't need to overthink it. It's actually kind of easy, not really though. Now we have 3 item and then prefix, so we are using these variables, these parameters here to pass it in. Now when we get to this directory, this current directory, this item, which is going to be root directory here, then we iter through that as well, but now our prefix is no more this empty string. Okay, now so we're going to get all the items in that in this directory, item directory. Now you see we've entered this function again. Okay, then we sort it as well. We do the same thing, and now in this case we check if it's the last item. Let me open this. So we check if it's the last item. Remember, we're already in FM now. Okay, so we check if the present item is the last item. If it's not the last item, we use the T. So then our connector is gonna, oh sorry about that, I didn't mean to. Let me minimize this. Okay, so if it's not the last item, our connector is gonna be a T, a connector for our file. And then after that, if it's a file, as you can see we have a file here, then it's gonna do prefix. Remember, we've added this to the prefix, the pipe prefix, which is pipe and space, which does this. So we have a pipe, we have the pipe and space already, and then we just put our connector, which is this T, and then name of the file, which is this. Now you're seeing how easy it is, or not, it's down here. So you're seeing how easy that is actually. So that's what we're doing. So you're just going through over and over again. I don't want you to think of it more than that, so you don't get don't get confused. You're gonna keep doing that over and over and over again. So you're gonna keep, so if you meet another directory in there, we're gonna enter directory and do the same thing basically. So I'm gonna save that. Let's have a look at it. We're gonna run it again. Let me open this. So if I run it now and I run it again, now you can see we have the same thing. Whew, we are pretty done with it, I'm sure about that. So if I come down here, we see we don't have this space here. Now how do we get this space? Remember, we have this space prefix here, but we are not actually making use of it, because this only works when we only add this if it's the last item. Okay, so if I come here, then what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna come down here, and then we're gonna say 3.append prefix dot rstrip. What it's gonna do is, no, if it's the last item, then it's gonna be a space prefix, and the last item, when we add the last item and when we come back out here, instead of it just going directly to the next file, as you can see, let me use my own example now, since it's still, they're still both my examples anyway, so let me use the one we are just using. So instead of it just going straight into this one, remember, once we come out of the directory, it's a recursion. This is what we call recursion. So when we come out of this, it continues. Okay, so it comes back here when we comes back of this function, and then it continues. So if instead of it just going straight into this file, these files here, we're gonna print this prefix, which is this rstrip prefix. Okay, this is space prefix. Then it's just, we're gonna have that space we have in this file here. So let me show you. We're gonna have this space. This is what I'm trying to get. Okay, we're gonna have that here. Now if I run that and I put the directory, now you see we have the space. That's what it does basically. This trigger append prefix the house strip. I just want to make sure you guys really understand. So I don't want you to overthink it. So if you have new folders and you add this, you're just gonna put the relationship in there. So if I come in here rather, and I put it inside this. Okay, let me do it inside here instead. FM. I'm gonna do Control Shift N. New folder. I'm gonna enter the new folder, create a file, text document, and save it. So if I should minimize this, run this again, and pass it in, as you can see we have this. It does keeps doing it. So in this case, when we have this space prefix, when we enter the generate directory function again, know when you enter this add body, you see me the generate directory function. When we do that again, remember we're going to add another pipe prefix again. So we're going to have pipe prefix, and then the connector right in front of it. Okay, so that's it's very simple. It's as simple as that. You don't have to overcomplicate things. And the reason why I did this is so you guys understand how you just break things down, go straight into problems which seems complex. Okay, so this might be a little bit complex. I will not lie for you. I will not lie for you as a beginner or as an intermediate developer. Okay, depending on how much project you've done actually. Okay, now there isn't much to do anymore. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, then you should give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on my next epic content. And guys, please, if you have any questions, make sure you comment down in the comment section below and make sure I answer your questions. And if you want me to do any video on any of the topics I've spoken about here, like recursion, any other thing you want me to talk about, just make sure you comment down in the comment section as well. Much love, guys. Peace out.